Well Armed was a horse destined for the winner's circle. However, an unforeseen accident stops him short in his tracks.
In his prep race, he was hit on both sides straight out of the starting gate and turned sideways, and we feel like that's when he probably injured his knee, chipped his knee.
I had to find out more, so I headed over to Lone Star Park and met with Dr. Dean Jacks to talk about the injury. Dr. Jacks, can you tell me the severity of a knee chip injury on a racehorse?
Knee chip injuries in racehorses are honestly fairly common. Most of them are, depending on the severity, are corrected surgically. Some are severe, some are minor. The minor ones, all the horses will return to usually their previous level of performance. Some of the severe ones might require retirement, going on to a different career, you know, such as a hunter-jumper horse or a riding horse or something like that. But most of them are not life-threatening, let's say that.
What exactly is the procedure that they have to do in order to remove the chip?
Honestly, it's very common, similar to what they would do in a human. Any of the human athletes that undergo arthroscopic surgery. They're placed in under general anesthesia. The surgeon will prepare the site and go in with an arthroscope, a camera, so to speak, and remove the chip from the affected knee.
He said, Bill, this horse is going to be fine. He said it's in an area where it's not in the articular surface, and he said he'll come back, you know, he'll come back just fine. And 3 days later, when he was in the recovery mode, but very, very sound, you know, was when he fractured his hip. It's still a mystery to us how he received such a catastrophic injury in the stall.
How severe is a hip injury on a racehorse?
It's about as severe as you can get. I mean, there's different degrees and severities of hip injuries, but the majority of them, anytime a horse fractures a pelvis, it can be life-threatening. There's some large arteries in the area, and if the fracture's in the correct area and the bones move and happen to lacerate an artery, the horse could actually bleed to death. If it's a minor, quote, crack, left to stand in the stall and things like that, maybe he could recover. Horses are so large that you really can't place them under general anesthesia and go in and put plates on them like you would on a human, because when they stood up and recovered from the anesthesia, they would more than likely tear the repair apart again.
What were you thinking when you got that call?
Oh, I was devastated. It was Sunday morning. I get this call from the farm vet, and she told me that Well Armed was down in the stall, that it looked like he'd fractured his hip. He was in extreme pain. And I was just devastated. I rushed down there and looked at him, and I mean, this horse was hurting.
It was really hard on Bill, and hard on me too. For me, it was just very scary. What was going to happen? Was he going to survive?
When he arrived in Texas and stepped off the van, I hadn't seen him in about 30 days, and he had lost all of the muscle on his right side. He was totally atrophied, and he walked. His step was very short on that side. I didn't feel like he was in pain, but it was a mechanical, it healed, and it was a mechanical defect.
Usually when a horse has this type of injury, they're going to be extremely lame on the affected leg. If they fractured the left side of the pelvis, they're not going to stand and bear weight on the left leg. The other thing that will occur is, because he'll be standing and bearing all of his weight on the opposite leg, they tend to develop laminitis, which is a condition where they get a bunch of inflammation in the opposite foot. That can be life-threatening as well. A lot of horses wind up, quote, euthanized later on down the line in the recovery process because of the laminitis in the opposite foot.
You know, when I was presented with the possibility of him having to be put down, I knew that wasn't going to happen unless it was absolutely the last possible choice. And I was going to give him every opportunity to come back as a horse. I could probably get him back. I had the tools at our ranch here in Texas. I had the swimming facility, and I knew that if there was any way that this horse could come back, it was by getting in that pool and swimming daily.